Welcome to the state of geopolitics and global trade. If you don't know what that is, that's a magic 8-ball. It helps you with decision making. And it seems to be how decisions are being made at the moment. So on today's show, the interest rate announcement. This ongoing trade war. Where are we at? And a couple other little tidbits. I'm going to start there. First up, Moosehead is going to sell you 4 years worth of beer to help you get you through this. I'm not going to lie, I want that. All right, there's some talk going back and forth that Canada's going to sell U.S. bonds. No, Canada is going to sell a U.S. denominated bond. It's a different thing. Yes, Canada is one of the main holders of U.S. debt at $380 billion. That's not what we're selling. We're selling U.S. dollars that we have in the bank. All right, I'm dumbing this down a huge amount, so don't write to me and tell me that I'm dumbing this down too much. If you want to know the full story, you can see the announcement from the government of Canada itself. Okay, I'm just going to kind of bring it down to basics. As I'm sure you know by now, we have a reserve of foreign currency. As of the last update on March 5th, we currently have 64 billion US dollars. What are we doing? We're selling a US dollar denominated bond in the hopes of getting other currencies into this liquid reserve. You following so far? Okay, so we're going to sell a bond. It's in US dollars. And what we're trying to do is get other currencies like the yen, like the pound sterling, like the euro, whatever, and have that cash available to us for future transactions. All right, the rate cut happened. Yeah, last week I was certain it was going to be a hold. And then this week happened. Like, shit is concerning. This was Brent crude this morning. It was at $70, which is quite low for Brent crude. And you see the Saudis are doing that thing they do every time they want to push up the price. Yeah, they're worried. And I'm going to reiterate this. We would have been in a recession over the last couple of years at some point if it weren't for the massive influx of temporary residents. Now that we've curtailed immigration and will likely keep that subdued over the next few years, we have to deal with the ramifications of high rates. And that's likely going to be a continued slowdown in the economy. That's why I've been saying we're likely going to cut rates right till the end of the year. But now, with the trade war in place, it's for certain we're going to cut rates to the end of the year. Now, I was already saying we were going to be below 2% by the end of the year. Now, Benjamin Tal at CIBC says we're probably going to be below 2% by the end of the year, especially if this madness continues. Oh, and the madness will continue. Yeah, I'm thinking we're going to be somewhere around 1.5% or maybe even less by the end of this year if things keep going the way they're going. All right, let me talk about the trade war now. Let me bring you up to speed. And let me start by showing the damage that has already been caused. This is VOO. It is an S&P 500 fund. So this is essentially investing in the entire stock market. This is from yesterday. Okay, that's where it was yesterday, which is exactly where it was 6 months ago. This is just from threats. Nothing actually happened yet. Just the constant daily threats, and this was yesterday's back and forth between Ontario and the US. It erased 6 months worth of growth just because of talk. Yeah, things were put in place, but there's no real fallout yet, right? It's just like on Monday we put in the 25% tariff on electricity, right? Okay, those people hadn't gotten their bill yet. So this is all just because of talk. All right, let me cut through the propaganda bullshit, which is coming from both sides of the border. Come on, Canada, we can do better than this. No, Doug Ford did not back down. I'm gonna reiterate this. I'm an NDP supporter. I live in London. We're in Orange City. Okay, so this isn't because I think Doug Ford is amazing. I'm just telling you what actually happened. Monday, Doug Ford puts the electricity surcharge in place. Yesterday, the U.S. government says they were potentially going to declare a state of emergency for those states that are getting our electricity because their bills would have jumped by about $100 a pop. And then Donald Trump, he threatens additional tariffs on top of the tariffs that are already coming, and he's going to crush the auto industry, etc., etc., etc. Now in the U.S., they're stopping there. They're completely glossing over the fact that Doug Ford got what he wanted, which was a meeting to discuss the Americans sticking to the agreement that's in place. Ford and Howard Lutnick released a statement on Tuesday saying that Doug Ford and Dominic LeBlanc were invited to the White House to discuss all this shit that's happening. Remember, there are no concessions that Ontario needs to make. There's nothing. All we want them to do is stick to the agreement that they came up with in the last Trump term. They're the ones who are in breach of contract. Okay, so that's yesterday, right? Crisis averted, right? We're all good, right? Oh, fuck no. Trump placing 25% tariff on steel and aluminum after backing off the 50% threat. And this tariff is on global steel and global aluminum. So the European Union is retaliating against Trump's trade moves and slaps tariffs on produce from the Republican states. And we are hitting back with tariffs on $29.8 billion worth of goods after this has been imposed on Canadian steel and aluminum. Bank of Canada could slash rate below 2% if madness continues, and the madness is continuing and it will continue for the rest of the year. 6 months of growth in the stock market was wiped out in a couple days because of talk. And the talking continues. You know what Canada needs right now? Somebody who understands global finance and global trade.